Joe Zekas from New Home Notebook. I'm sitting in a penthouse unit at Optima Old Orchard Woods. Introduce yourself for me.
My name is Daniel Chookaszian, and I am Vice President of Veteran Lending at American Street Mortgage Company in Chicago.
And you're one of Optima's preferred lenders.
That's correct. Yes, we are.
People who are nervous about mortgage brokers, you've got Optima blessing you to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
Veterans Day is coming up. We're less than 6 weeks away.
I work with retired disabled veterans in a volunteer type work. And one of the first things I always tell the veterans that I work with is thank you for your service to our country.
Veterans, from what I've read, are not as familiar as they should be with the VA loan program. So step me through that one step at a time. If I came to you and you learned I was a veteran, how would you start getting me into this process?
Absolutely. Joe, well, one of the first things I'd say is you may have in the past been told that the VA loan is not a good loan for a couple of reasons. Either that it takes a long time to close, or B, that it's very difficult to actually take advantage of. And neither of those two statements is true. First of all, the VA loan...
Was it true at some point in the past?
It was. About 10 to 15 years ago, prior to them automating everything with computer systems, with lenders and Veterans Affairs. It was a very slow, laborious process. Obviously, I wasn't around back then, but now with the computer systems in place, it's actually a loan which can close within 3.5 weeks, as long as we keep the veteran organized. In regard to qualifying them for the VA loan, there are really only 3 things or so that we need. Number one is we need a credit report which has a score of at least 620.
Okay.
So if
you'll pull that credit report for them?
Absolutely, it's free. Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
I can pull a veteran's credit report at my office, and as long as the score is 620 or above, they'll qualify for VA financing. Number 2 is I'll need a copy of. So if you're a veteran, you're thinking about, how can I qualify? Number 1, we'll have to take a look at your credit. Number 2, we will need to see a copy of your DD-214, your discharge papers, proving that you were honorably discharged. If you're honorably discharged and you can fax or email me your DD-214, I can actually send it to the VA electronically for you and upload, perhaps even instantaneously, your what they call certificate of eligibility. Your certificate of eligibility is the form which guarantees the 25% down payment for you, so that in effect you get a 100% finance loan. You don't have to make a down payment because VA, Veterans Affairs, actually guarantees that down payment for you.
Now let me, a few more questions because I'm slow at this. Veteran of any branch of the military?
That's correct. You can serve in any branch of the military, and depending if you're a Coast Guard, there are certain stipulations in regard to how long you had to have served, whether it's in active or inactive duty, etc. But if you were to just simply provide me with your DD-214, I could very quickly find out for you if you're eligible. It's a very simple process.
Let's say I'm still on active duty.
Okay.
And I've been in the military for 8 years, 9 years. Would I qualify, or do I have to wait until I'm out?
No, you don't have to wait until you're out. If you've been in the military for 9 years, you're eligible today. And
okay.
Yeah, and all I'd have to do is put your information in the VA system. I can pull up your certificate of eligibility right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? 100% financing?
Yes. It sounds like a risky loan. However, it's not. The reason being, the VA is interested not only in getting you into a home. That's the purpose of the 100% financing. You've been serving, so you haven't been able to save for a down payment because of your service to the country. And so as repayment to you, what they say is, we'll guarantee that 25% standard down payment for you. One of the things, though, is that they're not just interested in getting you in a property. They're interested in keeping you in a property. So what that looks like is very conservative qualification standards, meaning when we underwrite your loan, we make sure you're going to be able to afford the payment, not just this year, but 10 years out, so you're staying in the home long term. So there, in terms of like how much debt you have and how much mortgage we allow you to get, we're very conservative, so we keep the monthly payment comfortable for you and for your family long term.
Okay. Are there any costs at all associated with the loan?
Well, in terms of, not right now, and there are costs, of course, with a loan. However, with the current governmental incentives, in terms of in terms of the $8,000 tax credit, for example, that is one very that's one very attractive reason if you're a first-time home buyer and you're a veteran to take advantage, because not only do you get 100% financing, but you get $8,000 if you close within the next, I think, what is it, 45 days?
November 30th.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it's still possible
Correct.
to make that happen?
Correct. But the great thing for veterans is we have no closing cost options for you. So you don't bring anything to the table whatsoever.
Nothing?
Nothing.
There's isn't there an underwriting fee or other fees?
It can all be covered.
It's all rolled into the loan.
All worked into the loan. All worked in with. You can get a 30-year fixed rate, 5%, 30-year fixed rate, VA 100% financing, no closing costs. Basically, if I were you and you're a veteran and you're thinking, am I interested? What I would do is I would contact Optima. They have a fantastic sales team that is very familiar with all these types of financing, including VA. I've actually provided training for their staff, and they can either help you themselves or you can contact me directly, and I can give you a monthly payment and show you whether or not you'd be comfortable with it or not.
And they've got immediate occupancy units, a range of units within the VA loan?
That's correct. That's correct. At Optima here, the maximum loan that you can get VA at 100% financing is $417,000, which they do have units in that range, and then all the way down to $250,000, which would be the one bedrooms. So if you're a veteran, you want to think between the $250,000 and the $417,000 range, and as long as you have a job which has a salary which allows you to afford the monthly payment, and your credit score is 620, and you have your certificate of eligibility, and you're planning on living in the property, because there is an owner occupancy requirement, Joe.
Okay.
As long as you're planning to live in the property, you're good to go.
And I'm guessing you're going to make this real easy for me.
I'm going to make it very easy for you. I mean, this is what I do day in and day out, and so I'm very, very comfortable and used to making the process comfortable for our veterans.
There are very few people who actually specialize in VA loans, aren't there?
That's correct. It's really what people would call in the financing world a niche, and part of the reason for that is historically the subprime loan kind of, I think, attracted a lot of the veterans, and I've done research on this subject where many veterans in the past 5 to 10 years unfortunately were taken advantage of with subprime mortgages, with adjustable rate mortgages with high interest after they would adjust. But the reason why was because they were providing that 100% financing, which is what the VA loan provided all along. And so because lenders were just not educating themselves for our veterans, they didn't take the time to learn the product and how to make it comfortable and easy for our veterans. They would, when veterans would call them, they'd say, oh, well, that's not a good loan, or here are some other options, when really long term, it wasn't the safest product for the veteran. It wasn't the best financially speaking product for the veteran either. So you're absolutely right. That's part of the historical reason for that.
One of the myths of VA loans was that it was a one-time only thing, and I recently learned that's not the case.
You're right. That's actually not the case, Joe. So what does Joe mean by that? Well, what that means is if, for example, if you served, I've helped many Vietnam-era veterans, and if you received your certificate of eligibility upon being honorably discharged, perhaps in the 70s, you may have gone and bought a property in Florida for $50,000. And what that means is you used a small portion of your eligibility. Well, every veteran has what they call a lifetime eligibility amount, which means you still have remaining eligibility, which you can use even today. Even if you've already used your VA loan once, I can help you restore your eligibility. It's a very simple process. We may not even need to restore what you've used. You may have sufficient eligibility remaining to have the down payment covered for any property you're looking at today, up to $417,000.
Just to clarify, it's not really a down payment, it's a loan guarantee to the lender.
That's absolutely correct.
So lenders are very willing to make these loans because of that.
That's absolutely correct. It's not, the Veterans Affairs is not giving, so for example, on a $200,000 purchase, or let's say, or $300,000 purchase, they're not actually giving 25% of that in cash to the lender. They're issuing a governmental guarantee, which in the world is as good as cash.